My grandfather, looking around, decided that here was a country now developed fast because of its resources. So the British wanted to develop it. And so he said that this would be a great opportunity to try something out over there. So he tried, and he succeeded in selling and importing and selling mainly goods and services which were required by people from the British Empire. Kuwait was a total desert. It didn't have a very big history of the past. And the main people living there were from the northern areas of what we call even Saudi Arabia today, which is basically full desert and no natural resources, except when the British in their search now had found oil. So Kuwait was ready to be exploited for oil. The British High Command, which was in Basra, the center was Baghdad, but still Basra was an important place now and becoming quite more important. So the leader there was a person called Colonel Dixon. He knew my grandfather very well. Colonel Dixon was posted from Basra to become the political, it was like a promotion for him to be the head in this new country protectorate. So him knowing my grandfather convinced my grandfather to open up a branch in Kuwait, saying that the people coming in for the oil industry, because they would be coming with their families. In the old days, if you shifted, you had to shift with the whole family. Traveling up and down like today was not possible in those days. People still traveled by ship. If you had to go to England, it takes at least a month, right, from that area. So families used to move. So families would be moving in because they wanted to exploit the oil as fast as possible. And that's what they did. And that's how my grandfather was convinced. And by that time, my father, who was his eldest son, had already joined him in business, had been with him for a few years. And my father was sent to establish the business in Kuwait. And after that, of course, the history goes that wherever oil was found, we were asked to come. We were invited either by the British first, but after that by the ruling families. So that went like that. In 1933, it was in Kuwait. In 1935, to Bahrain. And then in 1955 to Dubai. As far as Dubai was concerned, Sheikh Rashid had wanted to develop Dubai. And at that time, Bahrain was taken as the let's say, connecting communications and whatnot headquarters in the Gulf. And that's when Sheikh Rashid was visiting Bahrain, which was already very much developed in comparison to Dubai of that time. And while the ruler was showing him around, he brought him to our store also. And that's when the connection was made. And Sheikh Rashid told my uncle, who was my father's younger brother, that I want the shop like yours. I want you people to come and open also in the thing. And so when we came here, it was a funny story because soon after we came to see it, in that same year, the aeroplane flights started from Bahrain to this area. So when Sheikh Rashid was asking my uncle, he said, come choose where you would like to have the store. Because the usual thing was they would give you the land first. They would give it to you for 25 years and then goes back to the government. But to help you develop and help the country develop. That was quite a system. So when he asked my uncle, where do you want the land for the shop, my uncle said, what is today Al Nasser Square in Daira. So Sheikh Rashid was very surprised to ask him that he answered that, because he told him that all the action is in Bar Dubai.
Near the fort.
And Daira is a small village or a small town on the other side. But everything is here. All the banks are here. The British embassy is here. The ruler's palace is here. The ruler's palace office is here, and all that is there. So why do you want to be on that side? So my uncle said, listen, I've come by air. So air travel has now started. From air travel starting, all the new people that you want for development, they'll come by air. They'll all come. And they will start putting the things in Daira. Because how do they all come with their equipment, with their things, with all their stuff? How are they going to come to Bar Dubai? Because there were no bridges, no tunnels, nothing of that sort. There were no roads anyway, hardly any roads, So this is how he says, therefore I'm choosing Daira because I foresee the development of Daira coming up. Because of the airport being here, So he said, unless you build an airport in Dubai and you build it on this side, and things like that. But this is how it is now. And if the way I see it, that you want to develop it quite, at quite a pace. Because in those days there was no commerce there was commerce going on between Iran and India and whatnot here, East Africa, because it was all by those boats, and all the traders were the ones with the dhows and bigger dhows and things of that sort. So that's the business was. But with the West, it was by ship mainly, still, the ships going all around. And then a little bit by air started from Europe directly, or from England. Everything was mostly from England. And so we dealt with the English people, and our speciality was basically dealing with the British goods for what the people from the oil companies wanted. So we fell in that category. And the one big thing was, because there were so many British people here from every angle of life, mainly from the oil companies, from when the airlines started with the airline companies, when the telephone started from the cable and wireless, the big British company, and all was very, very British. Requirements were British, so we also specialized in bringing British products here. And the main system used to be that once we had the store, but expansion in all the towns was actually very fast. When the expansion happened, transportation also wasn't that easy, etc. So people wanted these goods also from wherever they were living. So many smaller shops started in other places. So, but the products that they wanted were the ones that we were selling. And they was not big enough to be able to import them themselves. So this is how we got into a distribution business of those same products, but to those other places. So from a very early age, we started also a small way of distribution, but there was a time also where the distribution business overtook your own retail businesses. Although when the towns expanded, we started having also our stores in different places, but the expansion was always so big to new areas where people still had that demand, so you kept on getting people to take them. Then what happened, that many nearby countries like Iran, like some places in East Africa, but mainly those, wanted also there were some people, the development was going on everywhere, wanted something. So people used to come, because Dubai, for instance, was always a nice re-export place. And Dubai is still going to thrive on that. We're a hub. That feeling of that hub was always there. The boats were always coming in here. They were lined up in the creek, and they were being loaded with all the types of goods, from cars to refrigerators to whatever you want, as requirements for many countries around. So a lot of your goods kept on going out that way to countries over here. So business were good, and business. We have, of course, many things and values. My grandfather was very, very strict, and I say, now you cannot last for many, many years unless there is a founder with strong principles or values which go down over the generations. You can't change the DNA too much for it to actually function this way. It just so happens, I've studied enough of other businesses and other successful businesses, or etc., whatever you might call them, and you see if they are multi-generation, then they will probably have a founder who had fairly strong principles. Yeah. So he had very strong principles, and he always wanted that you keep to them. And there were always principles like you always fix the prices according to fair value. His thing was you have to make profit so as you can develop your business and be a better service to people. Okay? You don't see it as a thing to make your money, but you are a service. And therefore you will not charge them too much. You don't take from them. You are the service to the community. And he used to always equate it with something else. He used to say, for instance, never think of yourself as a business. Think of yourself as part of a community where you have to do your bit and your contribution. Right? So the society cannot function if people do not contribute to the society.